bling.
And then I forgot. What's happened in your drawer?
Trying to make sure I don't get it upside down.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call our meeting to order. And I will begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki in the district of Sipekne'katik, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. East Hants further acknowledges the 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose 400-year history have contributed to the province's culture, history, and legacies. We are all treaty people. We will now observe a moment of silent contemplation. Okay, moving on, we will set the date and time for our next council meeting, the regular meeting of Council for Policy and in Camera, November the 18th, 2025, and the regular meeting of Council, November the 26th, 2025. Do we need a motion to adopt those? Okay. I'd now be are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, I declare the agenda approved. Now we are looking for approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Council for Policy and in Camera, September the 16th, 2025, regular meeting of Council, September 24th and 25th, 2025. Are there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Seeing none, I declare the minutes approved. Next is the election of deputy warden, because our term ends in October every year. So the council procedural policy was circulated, and I would now open the floor for nominations. I'd first like to thank Deputy Warden McPhee for his service over the past year. I think we worked well together, and he was certainly available when I needed him to be. And okay, I'll let you.
Thank you, Warden. Now, I would like to nominate Councillor Perry, but can we do that without him here to accept?
Yes, we can. I'll open the floor
Okay.
for nominations.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Then I nominate Councillor Perry.
Okay, and Councillor Perry has indicated he would accept the nomination. Councillor Rhino.
Nominate Councillor Garden Cole.
Councillor Garden Cole, do you accept the nomination?
No, only because I don't feel that I have time to do it justice.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Norval Mitchell.
I nominate Councillor Dixon for the
Do you
deputy warden's position.
Do you accept the nomination, Councillor Dixon?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so we have two nominees. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Seeing none, I declare that nominations are closed. Our policy now allows, I don't have it open, 5 minutes for each nominee to address council.
And Councilor Perry's on the phone.
Councillor Perry, I must back up. We have regrets from Councillor Perry. He's just had surgery on his leg and is unable to be here in person, and our Zoom system was not working to allow him to fully join the meeting. But he is available. He does have a speech he would like to read, and the CAO has it on her phone, so I will open your mic, Kim, and we'll start and let Councillor Perry.
Gotta get him on first, just a second.
We'll hold off once.
Was not working to allow him to fully join the meeting. But he is available, he does have a speech he would like to,
You ready? Can you mute your thing and then we'll go? Okay, perfect. I'm gonna put you on speakerphone in 3, 2, 1.
I just, hold on.
Just a second, Mike. Yeah, Councilor Perry.
Okay, go ahead.
I just turned it off.
Oh. I'm turning the mic on, the CAO's turning it back off again. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for this nomination. It's my regrets that I cannot be there tonight, as I had surgery here the other day, and my leg doesn't allow me to travel as of yet. I think between myself and Councillor Dixon, council can't go wrong with either choice, and I would be honored to be deputy warden and to fill that role. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. We'll now go to Councillor Dixon as soon as I find you here. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I was not prepared for the nomination. I got here tonight, but I thank for the nomination and did not prepare a speech. But if elected, I will do my best to serve council and represent East Hants as well as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. So that concludes our speeches. Both of our nominees were very cognizant of not overusing the time permitted, I would say. And I thank you both for your remarks.
Sure.
So So voting will take place by secret ballot, with counting to take place by scrutineers approved by council. So I will ask council who you wish to appoint as scrutineers, and it's usually Shirley and Aaron? Is that correct? Or one of the others?
Shirley and I probably.
Or Shirley and the CAO? Is someone prepared to move that we appoint Shirley and the CAO to be scrutineers? Deputy Warden McPhee has moved it, seconded by Councillor Merriam. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary, motion is carried. So we will now vote by secret ballot. And the scrutineers will gather the votes. It's hard to believe it's been a year since the election, and we were all sworn in here. 3 years left, folks. And CAO.
Thank you, Madam Warden. There was a majority vote for Councillor Cecil Dixon to be the next Deputy Warden of the Municipality of East Hants.
Congratulations, Councillor Dixon.
Councillors, I also need a vote at this point in time to destroy the ballots.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion is carried. And we'll give Deputy Warden Dixon time to take his seat, and if he would like a moment to, I think Shirley, he can't sign in here. It's saying not present. What do we have to do?
Look after you.
All right, there you go. You and I have to become friends.
Yes.
Can't be-
Hey, everyone, I think we all have to sign in again to allow the chair position to be signed in.
Councilor Perry would like to send his congratulations.
And Counselor Perry has indicated that he would wish to congratulate Deputy Warden Dixon on his election, and
Thank you.
thank you. And do you, oh, sorry. We have, someone has not voted, signed in, sorry, someone has not
That's-
signed in.
Wouldn't be Cecil's, would it?
No, no, it's this seat here, don't sign them in there,
No, I just turned his mic off.
okay? Okay, yeah, hit there. Okay, we should be good now. All right, did you wish to speak to council for a moment, Deputy Warden? Let's see.
There, I'm on. No, thank you for your support, and like I said a few minutes ago, I'm here to support everybody and try to work with everybody, and hopefully we'll get a successful year ahead of us. Thank you again.
And now the game will begin where every time that Deputy Warden Dixon wishes to speak, I will turn the mic on down at his council seat instead of the chairperson's mic until I get used to it. I'll do my best. Okay. Next, we'll go to correspondence for information. Counselors, you see it on the screen. Are there any items under correspondence for information that anyone wishes to draw attention to? Seeing none, we will move to correspondence for decision. The first item is the draft council calendar for council consideration and approval. Councilors, you've seen the draft calendar. It follows our normal schedule for things. That's not to say there may be adjustments through the year, but this is our outline for starting out. So, are there any changes to the draft council calendar that anyone wishes to make, or is someone prepared to move the acceptance of the draft calendar? Moved by Councillor Tingley, seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. Next item, a selection of a date for the council familiarization tour of the rural areas, being the Shore region and the Mount Uniacke region. Alana, you're going to take that? I just ask folks, if you don't mind, would you press your speak button? It's much easier for me to turn your mic on than to search through the entire list of people to find where you are. Thank you. Go ahead, Alana.
Perfect. Thank you. Through you, Madam Warden, in November of 2024, Council passed a motion to approve booking two separate dates for council familiarization tours, one specific to the corridor region and a second date specific to rural areas that would include the shore of Mount Uniacke. So earlier this year in June, we did go forward with the corridor tour. And we had not yet picked a date for the second tour. And again, that was to focus on the rural areas, Shore region, and Mount Uniacke. Many of the tourism locations are closed at this point of the season, including Burntcoat Head Park and Fundy Tidal Interpretive Center. So staff were going to put forward a recommendation that council select a date in May of 2026 when some of those locations are open again. And then we would also still include, of course, the Shore and the Mount Uniacke regions. And then alternatively, council could choose another date that was better suited.
Okay, councilors. So, Councillor Mitchell.
What date do the facilities open, Burncoat?
Yeah, through the warden. So the The tourism locations usually open around the 15th of May, on or around upwards to the long weekend. So ideally, we could certainly visit the sites before they're open, because we do prepare those sites with the washrooms and things like that. And they've been winterized, so we reverse all of that. But I would think 3rd to 4th week of May would probably be ideal.
I just wonder if it would be any easier if we went while staff were there, but it was not open to the public.
We could
I don't
certainly,
know.
we could certainly explore that.
Are you looking at the 3rd and 4th week as the week of the 18th and 25th, or?
So through the warden, the week of the 11th to the 15th would likely be an opportune time if we picked a date in there.
Is there a better day during the week?
Not at that time, no. I don't think day of the week matters. It really is whatever works best for council. I know sometimes we try to refer to the CCRCE calendar, so I can pull that up and see if there's an in-service date, because I think that was sort of a,
Bearing in mind that these days through the week are not doable for any counselors who work through the day.
Yeah.
Anything else, Counselor Mitchell?
No, that's all. I'm just look.
Counselor Merriam?
Thank you, Madam Warden. And I did go on the familiarization tour largely in the corridor area this year, and I found it very useful and interesting. And I do look forward to attending and taking part in part 2, which is in the more rural part of the municipality. I'd like to make the motion now. Is it possible to, through Madam Warden, the staff, could I make the motion and keep it a little bit general at staff discretion for a date?
through the warden, I think it would be important for council to sort of select that date, and staff would certainly make that work, because we'd be on site.
Would you be in a position to have, just from a quick look perhaps at a calendar, at a suggested recommended date? Might be hard for us to all collectively come up with something.
The CAO? Go ahead.
Through you, Madam Warden, I would suggest you pick the 14th, with the 15th being a rain date.
Okay, I'd be happy to make the motion based on that. So I'd like to move that the date for the next phase of the East Hants familiarization tour be set for May 14th with a rain date on May 15th for the rural shore and Mount Uniacke regions of East Hants.
Seconded by Counselor Head. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion has passed unanimously. Okay, next item. A letter from Bruce Fraser, the Chief of the Uniacke District Volunteer Fire Department, requesting a letter of support for their application to the Emergency Service Provider Fund to acquire a structural protection unit to enhance wildfire response capabilities. And Adam.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. Through you, Madam Warden. So the letter in front of council in your package tonight is very similar letter of support request that you received from Shubenacadie Fire at your July meeting. This letter here is from the Uniacke District Volunteer Fire Department. They're looking at a structural protection unit, which I think, given the forest fires and whatnot, there's definitely the need has been identified for your East Hants departments. And so this is the funding through the province that they're applying for. And as part of that funding request, it's a letter of support from the municipality. It's one of the criteria. You'll notice in the letter, it does actually reference 12 of the 13 departments have endorsed it. It's actually 13 of 13 departments have endorsed it. So really, it could be a good asset for the region. The Uniac Fire has noted that they have the funding to pay for the remainder portion. They would pay for the upkeep and maintenance and so forth. So really, they're looking for a letter of support tonight from council.
Someone prepared to make the motion? Councillor Musa.
I move that the municipality of East Hants write a letter of support for the Uniac Fire Department for the purchase of the structural unit.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Garden Cole. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. Next item, we have an email from Steve White, the Fire Chief of Kennecott District Fire Department, seeking $100,000 funding to assist in the purchase of a replacement fire truck. Do you want to take that, Adam, or do you want me to take it?
Your choice on board.
We'll start with you, and if anyone has any questions, I can weigh in.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Warden. So, as council may recall, you've allocated out of your rural fire capital fund, so that's a separate fund that council has, $100,000 to the three remaining rural departments that haven't allocated the funds. One of them being Kennecott Fire Department, and so they're in the process of kind of putting together their project for a truck and looking at the financing and so forth. And really what they're looking for tonight from council is just confirmation that you will allocate that funding through a previous motion that council's already identified it and targeted it for this. Really, you just need a motion tonight, should you choose to support the Kennecott Fire Department with $100,000 from the rural capital fund that you set aside.
And the reasoning being on approving it now, then when they are at the point of purchasing their truck and they provide the motion of their fire department, we would be in a position to release the funds. Councillor Mitchell. Whoops, sorry, I put yourself on again. I hit the wrong button. Oh, there we go.
Could I get an update on the balance in that fund?
There are three departments who haven't accessed the money set aside yet. There's $100,000 in that fund set aside for Kennecott, $100,000 for Rawdon, and $100,000 for Walton. Maitland and Knoll have already accessed theirs.
Okay, that clarifies that.
Councillor Rhino.
I would move that we proceed with granting the request from the Kennecott Fire Department for the amount of $100,000 from the Rural Capital Fund.
To be released at the time of purchase.
To be released, they may need it beforehand, to be released when asked, when duly asked for. And the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes they have to have a down payment and they have to have the cash rate on hand early, so.
I'd consider that time of purchase too, but anyway. Okay, is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hebb. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Oh, Councillor Garden Cole? Sorry. Okay. We'd already gone to the vote. But we have not voted yet. So I'll allow you a little leeway. Okay. We'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. Hey, go ahead, Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I just wanted to make sure, I wasn't sure if I heard, and we will also include the document that they were requesting for their financial proposal. That will be
We were
included
able
in
to
it.
provide that as a matter of policy because what they
Okay.
needed was simply acknowledgement that the money was in the fund and staff could do that.
Sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
All right, next item. A memo from PVSC regarding property assessment and the Municipal Modernization Act, Bill 141. Council may want to write a letter to the MLA and/or NSFM to advocate for legislative changes that mimic the 2023 regulations regarding tax relief for properties destroyed by natural disaster. So I assume the CAO is going to take this one.
Thank you, Madam Warden. And the MLA should probably have read the minister. Ironically, they're the same person now, but the changes that were made to, under the Municipal Modernization Act, enable you as a council to make a policy that changes the amount of taxable assessment on newly rebuilt homes after a natural disaster, which is a good thing to do. The difference is in the application. So in 2023, the province did the same thing with the homes that were destroyed by wildfire in Tantallon and on the South Shore. But they did it through the Provincial Valuation Services Corporation. And that meant that it was done across the board equitably, no matter where you live, no matter what municipality that you lived in. What they've done now is said that you as a council can make a policy to give relief if you so choose. And PVSC wasn't consulted on this change, nor were municipalities that I'm aware of. The NSFM may have been, I'm not sure. But really, this legislation makes it so that you will now be in the business of assessing homes as something different than what the Provincial Valuation Services Corporation assesses them, which is really not a good place for multiple councils across the province to be in. So when I look at this with the history that we have of filed roll, it's ingrained in municipalities that we do not change what's on that filed roll. There is only one circumstance, which is if somebody's house gets destroyed by fire, you can temporarily remove the house portion for the remaining year until the new filed roll gets filed. And we do have a policy that allows for that. The difference in this policy would be that it actually changes the taxable assessment of these homes once they're rebuilt to something other than what PVSC is assessing them for, which to me is a very dangerous place to be, and it will cause you a lot of administrative nightmares if you have a large-scale natural disaster that requires a lot of these administrative adjustments to tax accounts. And it just doesn't make sense that you would have this happen across the province, and different councils could put different limits to it, like different ways of assessing these homes after the fact. So my recommendation, with both my CAO hat on and my prior Director of Finance hat, would be that we need to bring some awareness to this issue. And whether it be through a letter to the NSFM to advocate on our behalf, or a letter to the minister, we can certainly draft a letter that does both. And just expresses that there's a much better way to do this, and it really rests in provincial regulations as opposed to municipal policies at 46 or 49 council seats. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Musa.
Yeah, I agree with you, CAO. We pay for the service, and I don't think we should be doing it. So anyway, if we end up having to do it, so can we change the whole taxable, or like can we change the money that goes to the province too, or just our tax collectible, like the
Through Madam Warden, you would still have to pay education to the province on the full amount of the house that's taxed on the roll.
That's what I'm asking.
You could acknowledge that portion, and then your policy, as far as I know, it's not prescriptive, so it could be whatever you want it to be, but I would think you would still have some kind of consideration for what you have to pay the province for that house. Because that's a third of your tax bill that gets sent to the province.
But we couldn't randomly change any assessment we wanted to.
No, there would have to be a formula in place, because if someone's house is capped at $400,000 today, it gets destroyed and it gets rebuilt at $1 million, you're going to have to pay the province on the $1 million worth of education.
That's my question, yeah.
So you would have a formula that says, of the part that's not done through other legislation like the education is, we would say reduce it to the non-cap value for the first 5 years, and then maybe you step it up a little bit after the next 5 years. Like, I don't know what the policy would look like, but I assume that's where you would go.
And what we ask, the letter is gonna ask the province is to cap it to the 2023, or like similar to the 2023 one?
I would think you would ask them to use the same legislative framework as 2023, but just make it so that if the minister declares a natural disaster, then this would kick in, and then PVSC would do their work related to the homes that were destroyed by fire.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to be doing a lot of assessment work that they'll give us the values, but there's still a lot of stuff that has to happen.
No, I like to hear from other councillor, but I agree 100% with you that we shouldn't be doing this.
Councillor Merriam. Oh, sorry. We have reached the time of a public hearing, so we will delay further discussion on this item till after the public hearing. Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Okay. So, councillors, we have one item on the public hearing agenda this evening, and it is a proposal to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to enable the subdivision of land for institutional uses on a right-of-way easement by development agreement for land zoned R2, and to consider an amendment to an existing development agreement. The purpose of this hearing is for council to hear input from the public prior to making a decision on the proposal. To the members of the public who have chosen to participate this evening, welcome. Please note that council's procedural policy requires that you not cheer, boo, clap, or otherwise disrupt this hearing. Everyone who wishes will have an opportunity to be heard. Tonight, council may approve, reject, or defer its decision to a later date. Council approval is required for the proposal to proceed. I will now ask the municipal clerk to outline when the public hearing, when the public hearing advertisements were published.
Madam Warden, a public hearing notice appeared in the October 15th, 2025 and October 22nd, 2025 editions of the Chronicle Herald. The notices described the proposal, gave the date and time of the public hearing, and indicated the staff reports were available to the public.
Thank you. And councilors, as stated, the public hearing item this evening is for a proposal to amend the East Hants official community plan and to amend an existing development agreement. I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his report. Councillor Mitchell.
Planning Advisory Committee has considered the proposal on behalf of Municipal Council. The committee's reviewed staff reports, completed their evaluation, and will make a recommendation to council during this hearing. Madam Warden, through you, I would now ask staff to present their final report on their proposal.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So in March this year, Council passed a motion to direct staff to find a way forward to assist Ms. McCaskill to separate her business and dwelling to PIDS through a development agreement or an alternative for Serenity Lodge. Under the current land use bylaw regulations, the subdivision of land cannot take place on a right-of-way easement in the growth management areas serviced by municipal water and wastewater. The subject property is identified here and is outlined in red. The total area of the subject property is 1.44 hectares, and it has 6 meters of frontage located on Bakery Lane. The property is zoned 2 dwelling unit residential R2 zone, and that's the bright yellow, and so are the adjoining lots. There is an existing development agreement on the subject lands that permits Serenity Lodge, which is a seniors care facility and considered an institutional use, and there's also a single unit dwelling on the lot. Bakery Lane is owned by the province, and Russell McKean Drive is a right-of-way easement owned by the McKean and extended family. Here's a satellite image of the subject property outlined in red, and Serenity Lodge is located here, Russell McKean Drive right here, single unit dwelling, and then Bakery Lane is here. This is a photo of Serenity Lodge. This is looking across the street, looking south on Russell McKean Drive, and looking north on Russell McKean Drive. Development proposal. So in order to permit the subdivision of land to take place, the following items have to be completed. So step 1 is amendments to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw required. A new policy and regulation are proposed to be added to the planning documents to permit council to consider the subdivision of land for an institutional use, IU zone use on existing right-of-way easement in the growth management areas on lands that are 2 dwelling unit residential R2 zone. Step 2 is that the existing development agreement, which currently permits Serenity Lodge, is proposed to be substantially amended so that the proposal can be considered under the council's new policy. And step 3, after the policy and regulations are in place and the development agreement has been approved and registered, the property owner can proceed with subdividing the land. And I should note that there are no new structures or no new uses proposed with this application. This is just a plan of subdivision showing, or a proposed plan of subdivision showing the creation of the new lodge for Serenity Lodge, which is right here, and the new lot is outlined here in red with frontage on Russell McKean Drive. The remainder of the existing lot would continue to have that frontage on Bakery Lane. The proposal does not enable other lots to be subdivided with frontages on Russell McKean Drive for other purposes. Now, if somebody else on Russell McKean Drive wanted to apply for a development agreement for another institutional use, for example, another seniors care facility or a cemetery or a church or something like that, they could do so. It would enable them to do so, but it doesn't allow them to do it for an apartment building or such. The existing landowners are interested in developing their lands in the future. Russell McKean Drive will have to be upgraded to a public road so that it may be taken over by the municipality. The amendments to the planning documents and substantial development agreement amendment can run at the same time. However, the municipal planning strategy amendments will have to be in effect prior to the development agreement being entered into and registered on the lands. So the process is, if council approves the proposed amendments to land use bylaw and the municipal planning strategy, which are located here, that then has to go to the province for their approval, and then once the province gives their approval, we'll run the development agreement appeal period in the paper for 2 weeks, and then after that, the development agreement can be entered into and registered, and at that point in time, the applicant can apply for the subdivision. Citizen engagement. So a public information meeting for the proposed application was held in July, and those notes for the meeting have been attached to the staff report. Questionnaire was sent to property owners and residents within 300 meters of the subject property, and a total of 179 questionnaires were mailed. I just received another response yesterday, so we actually have 13 responses now, and those results have been shared with the members of the Planning Advisory Committee for their review and for council. Overall, the feedback was varied. Some residents viewed the proposed changes positively, others were opposed, and some commented on matters unrelated to the proposal. In conclusion, planning staff have responded to Council Motion C-2595 and have proposed amendments that will permit Serenity Lodge to create a new lot with frontage on Russell McKean Drive by development agreement. Thank you, Madam Warden.
Thank you, Debbie. Does any member of council have any questions for staff? Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. So if we do those changes, we still don't have enough frontage on Bakery Lane for 2 lots, right?
That's correct. There's only 6 meters of frontage on Bakery Lane, but it is an R2 lot. So technically, if they wanted to take the existing dwelling unit and convert it into a semi-detached or a duplex or whatever, they could do so. They would just never be able to subdivide it further.
Yeah, but in any other situation, in any other part of the municipality, if you want to subdivide 2 lots, you have to have frontage for the 2 lots to be able to subdivide it, right?
Through you, Madam Warden, yes, you need to have the frontage, and what is being proposed tonight is to allow the applicant to have the 18 meters of frontage they require for the proposed lot XY here on Russell McKean Drive, where currently they're not permitted to do so.
Yeah, but even if we approve that, they won't be able to subdivide it unless we approve that they don't have to have 60 feet or 100 feet on Bakery Lane, right?
Through you, Madam Warden, no, what you're doing tonight is enabling that by development agreement, that they only need 18 meters of frontage on Russell McKean Drive. The remainder of the lot is going to remain the same. So right now, the lot only has 6 meters of frontage on Bakery Lane. That doesn't change. That remainder lot will still maintain a 6 meters of frontage on Bakery Lane.
So by,
Nothing changes about that remainder lot. The lot currently has 6 meters of frontage. All you're doing is enabling by policy, by development agreement, to have a new lot to be subdivided off the back portion here onto Russell McKean Drive by development agreement that would have to meet that 18 meters of frontage and 550 square meters of space, which is the proposing 6,000 square meters of space, to create a separate lot, but that remainder lot would still maintain the 6 meters of frontage.
so by development agreement, are we allowed to go against our policies?
Through you, Madam
Unless-
Warden, the proposal, you're actually, if you proceed with this application, you're actually creating a new policy to allow this to occur. So RD 23, which will allow council to consider the following development agreement in the 2 dwelling unit residential R2 zone, and the D is being proposed to be added, and that's a subdivision of land on an existing right-of-way easement and a growth management area to permit an institutional use. So, and then we've copied that into our land use bylaw regulations as well. So you're potentially adopting regulations tonight and policies tonight to allow this to occur.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah.
But by adopting this policy, that doesn't eliminate that they have to have the minimum frontage on Bakery Lane
Yes,
to be
it-
able to subdivide it, right, John, or wherever?
Through you, Madam Warden. No, because as Debbie pointed out, what you're doing is you're creating an exception or an alternative way of looking at this particular circumstance, which is the direction that council gave us. Council wanted us to find a way to allow this property owner to be able to subdivide this lot. And because of the restrictions, because it's on a private road, which normally you can't subdivide on in this area, the policy will allow that. So you're not violating your policy, you're creating an alternative to the standard policy.
Okay, so if that wasn't a private road and they have the frontage, would they be allowed to subdivide it?
If it was a public road through you, Madam Warden, yes.
I don't think so, because they don't have enough frontage for the second lot, John.
Through you, Madam Chair, they're proposing to create enough frontage. So.
For the 2 lots?
For 2 lots. So they have the remainder lot. That's the same as anything that happens in the municipality. If there's somebody has a remainder lot, they can keep that remainder lot. They're creating a new lot with 18 meters of frontage on Russell McKean Drive.
But don't you have to have enough frontage for the remaining lot?
Not necessarily, no, because it's a remainder parcel of land.
Okay, if you say so, but I think something wrong here.
Does anyone else have any questions for staff? Okay. Seeing none, I would now ask if the applicant has any comments or would like to make a presentation. We'd ask you to come to the mic and the mic is on.
The councillor just spoke. My name is Christine McCaskill. I'm owner of Serenity Lodge. We have been running for 25 years with a development agreement. That when we asked why was there no long-term care facility in Enfield, they said no one had done it. And we came to the municipality, and you that were councillors at the time said this is how it would go, and we went through the process the same as we're doing now. I'm at the end of my work at Serenity Lodge, and I just, when I sought legal counsel, that they warned me that if I have 2 houses on the one lot legally, as a proposal from 25 years ago. And they said if I ever got sued, that I could quite likely lose my own home, the second house that I live in now. And I don't want to leave this a situation that isn't resolved, because there's quite likely that that won't happen. I hope that no one would sue me to that point, but it is a possibility. And the lawyer said that I should talk to the municipality. They helped create the 2 lots, 2 houses on 1 lot. And I think it's a very valued service in our community, and I'd like to see it kept going. Next to my family, this lodge is my passion in life. And I think a lot of people are liking the fact that they have a choice now, and since 2010, you can live in a smaller residential care facility like Serenity Lodge, or you can choose to live in a larger nursing home in our area too. I feel just as confused as probably members of the public. It's worth a try to ask if there was some way to keep it going. There's no intention for anything further. It's a beautiful small facility that allows for country people who live in the county, a place very similar to where when they can no longer live at home but need support. We excel at all registration, everything for seniors and long-term care. We have a valuable, respectful relationship that works both ways for this facility. It's no intention of it being sold. I have my team that are there intend to keep it going, and I am walking away from it just to live next door.
Thank you. I will now open the floor for comments and questions. If you're viewing the YouTube live stream, you may use the YouTube chat feature, which is being monitored. First, does anyone attending in person have any questions or comments? If you'd come to the mic, please, and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Darren Devey, 28 Bakery Lane, directly across from the private road, Russell McKean Drive. I have many questions. 25 years ago, we went through a similar process of this, and I did respond back then. I said back then that it was a dumb place to have a senior's home. It's still a dumb place to have a senior's home with the amount of traffic and dust, lack of regard for neighbors when it comes to gunning it and throwing gravel. The private road that they're speaking of is a dangerous private road. So if this was to go through, I have the question, will the road be brought up to standards? Will it be ditched? Will the flow of water that comes down off the road be directed to where it should go instead of my property? Will the angle of the road be cut down to reduce the risk of my house getting ran into? I've had a backhoe in my front yard, dump trucks, 1-ton trucks with big dump trailers on them. Last February, a dump truck hit the telephone pole in front of my house, caught my house on fire at 2 a.m. in the morning. If it wasn't for a quick responding RCMP officer, my house would have been gone. Also, the applicant's husband once lost control of a backhoe. It ended up 3 feet from my picture window. In that incident, the backhoe wasn't running, so he managed to jump back in it while it was rolling down the hill and get the bucket put down. That's the only thing that stopped it. And there was a 5-foot pile of mud in front of my window. So that's my big concern about this. There's barely 2 feet of this home on Russell McKean Drive, so now they want to make it 18 meters. Are they going to upgrade the road? Thank you.
Thank you. Staff?
Through you, Madam Warden, no, there's no requirement to upgrade the road. It's an existing right-of-way easement, and the direction was to find a way forward for the land to be subdivided on an existing right-of-way easement. If the road had to be brought up to public municipal road standards, then it would be different, and you'd be required to upgrade the road.
Thank you. We're at public members at this time, Councilor. Does any other come forward to the mic? Okay, and please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Doug Purcell, 49 Bakery Lane. I'm just 2 lots over from this road. Walked my dog this morning, I took a bunch of pictures. From my driveway towards the Legion, I think I'm the only driveway on the lane that doesn't have a culvert. Because where my driveway comes, the road pitches left and right. So there's 2, I don't know what we will call them, canals that have been put in by the municipality that when the water runs under McKean Drive, it's supposed to divert and go down between Darren's property and the property next to him. The culverts are blocked. They're completely blocked. I took pictures, I got them on my phone. And it's from the snow removal. When they plow that particular road, they push the snow left and right at the end of the road so that they don't leave a barrier across Bakery Lane. And our gutters just don't drain. Once upon a time, that road used to wash out during rainstorms, and now my property washes out due to rainstorms. So my questions is, are the permits and the engineering that's required to put that road in, are they in effect? Have they ever been done? Because there's no upkeep to that road. None. The dust in the summertime, and this was a bad summer because we had no rain. If I'm walking my dog and a truck or a car goes up and down that hill, there's a dust storm that lingers. I have COPD, so I have to stop and wait for the dust to stop before I can cross that particular stretch of the road. In the summertime, the municipality or whoever owns Bakery Lane, because it's dirt, they put down the stuff to keep the dust from, okay? The traffic going up and down Russell McKean wears that away. It's gone within a month. And it's nothing but a dust storm the whole time. So I have issues with that road. You can't get up and down it in the wintertime. I don't know how an ambulance would ever get up there to rescue anyone. But at the end of the day, there's no ditches on the, if you're looking up the road on the right-hand side, if you're looking down the road on the left-hand side, there's no ditch on that side of the road. All the water's been canted towards my property, which has no ditch. I have no drainage underneath my driveway because it's supposed to go left and right and follow these culverts that the municipality put in. It can't reach it. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's not being maintained.
To you, Madam Warden, Bakery Lane is owned by the province, so the province would be looking after the road conditions and the ditching along there. And Russell McKean Drive, there's no requirement for it to meet any regulations because it's not owned by the municipality, it's privately owned. And when the existing development agreement doesn't mention anything about access into the property or how that access has to be maintained, it just allows for the Serenity Lodge in that the original development agreements from 2002.
Thank you. Any other member of the public? Come ahead.
Good evening. My name is Michelle White. I live at 27 Russell McKean Drive. I've lived there since 1977. To give a little history about Russell McKean Drive, our parents very generously gave us our children, each a piece of property as we grew up, and we created our own little subdivision. The 66-foot right-of-way that was put in was done for the first siblings that built there, and as continued, we named that right-of-way, or the road, in memory of our brother who passed away young. In that 50 years, nearly 50 years that I've lived on that road, our families have maintained the road. The municipality has never had to do snow removal or grading or anything. We did it as our family. We did it pretty casually, as my husband and my brothers-in-law worked in the construction industry and were able to, let's say beg, borrow, or steal, but that's not the right term. But we had access to plow trucks and graders and whatever we did and got the work done. This past year, I agree with some of the comments that were made by the other two presenters in that Russell McKean Drive had some challenges because we are in a drought. It was dusty. We have, in last, I don't know exactly the year, but we went from having the family just doing the work to creating Russell McKean Drive Road Association. And all of the people that live on Russell McKean Drive contribute an amount, and it's taken off our taxes, and that pays for the grading, snow removal, any work that needs to be done. As any of you are aware, if you have a road association, it's registered with Joint Stocks, and it has to have certain requirements. We have to have an annual meeting, we have to create a budget. That budget's presented to council, it's also presented to Joint Stocks. This year, unfortunately, as I said, because of the drought and just timing, we didn't get the road graded this year. So yes, it was a little more dusty than usual, but typically the road is well maintained. I think if you go look throughout the municipality and see some of the other, even through some of the public roads, many years Russell McKean Drive was better maintained than Bakery Lane. But that's kind of neither here nor there. For this application, as I understand it, it is, the request is to have this, whatever it's called, sorry, the institutional use rezoning, so that Serenity Lodge can be a property of its own, which will change nothing, really. It doesn't change the traffic, it doesn't change the infrastructure. All it changes is subdividing a lot from Christine McCaskill and having a lot that's Serenity Lodge. Serenity Lodge is a residential care facility, if I'm using the right term, I'm not sure, but it's six people there. It provides a great service to our community. My husband, who is now in long-term care at the Magnolia, I've learned through that process just how important it is to have these facilities in our community so that we don't have to travel hundreds of miles to visit our loved ones. So I really don't see how the comments about the road have any bearing on this subdivision plan, because the people that live in this care facility that it's been open for many years. I don't remember the exact year it opened, but it's been there for many years. It hasn't, this change, this rezoning will not affect the travel on the road. It won't affect the infrastructure in the community. So I just wanted to give my opinion, and I hope that the council will consider approving this so that Serenity Lodge can continue in our community and provide the wonderful service that it does. I also have two letters here from two other property owners that I apologize for the delay, but I can give them to you. They both support this. One of them, and I'll say, is my son, Ian Russell White, owns a property that's lot 60E, or lot 60E1. For anyone that's familiar with Enfield, it's called the Pit. The land runs between Russell McKean Drive and Shamrock Lane. Ian, over the last year or so, had an agreement with someone to fill in some of that pit. And yes, there were dump trucks going up and down Russell McKean Drive. Some people on Russell McKean Drive had concerns with that. We had a meeting with the road association, and Ian no longer has that happening. If they come in, if they fill in any more or dump any more fill in that pit, it comes in off Shamrock Lane. So yes, those concerns that Doug and Darren expressed about it being dusty, yes, it was. When you got dump trucks were going by, it was creating some dust. But that situation has been resolved, so hopefully that won't be a concern in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else who has not spoken yet wish to speak? Okay, do you wish to?
I just, Darren Devy again, 28 Bakery Lane. I just want to comment on that. Michelle is saying that this won't change anything. Everything will stay the same. All the infrastructure will be the same. Everything's going to be the same. Well, I say it's not going to be the same because the opportunity will exist. Upon approval of this, the opportunity will exist to sell that property. Now, everybody's praising that it's a senior's place. Very well. But 25 years ago, she knew, Ms. McCaskill knew that she wouldn't be able to subdivide that property. She was explained that, it was in writing, we were explained that. So 25 years later, let's go in for an approval. It won't change nothing, but I say it will. It provides the opportunity for future sale. And because it is currently a care facility, who's to say that somebody like the Rose Group comes along and says, excellent, this is a good chunk of land. We could make a facility here for 500 people. Now, that possibility will exist if this is approved. Thank you.
To you, Madam Warden. So if the application moves forward and the property is to be subdivided, if somebody bought, and then it was sold, and somebody bought it and they wanted to expand, they would have to apply for an amendment to the existing development agreement to allow for that expansion to occur. But it is enabled in your policy under R2 zone provisions that you can have an institutional use by development agreement, and that's any R2 zone land.
Does any other member of the public wish to speak? Come forward to, no, this lady.
My name is Karen Shaw, and I live at 35 Russell McKean Drive, right beside Serenity Lodge. I've worked with my parents at Serenity Lodge, and it is my intention that I would take over from Mom as she retires next year. And I think that our lovely little 6 resident home is exactly what I want it to be. And we're all neighbors there, and I don't have any intention of selling or growing it. Like, I just want to keep it the way it is. And it is a wonderful service, and we have our little Serenity family. Just wanted to.
Yeah, Doug Purcell, 41 Bakery Lane. I don't know, I brought this up off the internet. It says each Hance. A lot and grading permit is often required, particularly for new construction plans, need to be prepared a qualified professional, such as engineers, land surveyors, especially if grading alters the existing drainage patterns. I still don't know if that's ever been done on this road, but drainage is a big concern, especially on my property. I paid $17,000 to have my place dug up, and I put a ditch in between the 2 properties, but I don't know where that water has gone. It used to run down that road. It now runs down my property. So I'm not sure if them permits were ever put in place, but according to the bylaws, they're supposed to be done. That's all I'm saying. Thank you very much.
To you, Madam Warden, that he's correct. Any new structures are supposed to have a lot grading and drainage permit, but that bylaw came into effect after this building would have been constructed. So that's why it doesn't have a lot grading and drainage plan. Also, if the road had been brought up to public road standards, there would have been a stormwater management plan or something would have had to been prepared to look at stormwater management for the road. But where it's an existing right-of-way easement, there's nothing required.
Michelle McKean, again, 27 Russell McKean Drive. It's my, I'm not disputing your claim, Doug, but my property is between Russell McKean Drive and Doug's property. So if the drainage from Russell McKean Drive is affecting your property, I would think it would have to be from Bakery Lane, and then it becomes a provincial issue.
Point of order. Point of order, we're not going to debate.
Sorry, I shouldn't be, yes, but that's maybe discussion for us. But to me, there is ditching issues, I think, on Bakery Lane that need to be addressed, but as I understand it, that's a provincial thing. So maybe we need to do some work there. Thank you.
Any other member in the gallery wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, I will ask if any member of the public has any questions or comments through the live chat on YouTube. No, there are no questions or comments there. Okay, does any member of staff have any final comments?
No.
I would now ask the chair of the Planning Advisory Committee to present his committee's recommendation.
Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council give second reading and approve the proposal to amend the MPS and LUB by adopting policies that will permit council to consider entering into a development agreement on land zone 2 dwelling unit residential R2 zone to permit institutional use IU zone uses to be subdivided on existing right-of-way easement in the growth management area. And Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council give final consideration and approve entering in a development agreement to permit PID 4528768 to be subdivided on the existing right-of-way easement signed within 1 year of council's approval and contingent upon approval of the MPS and LUB amendments by the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. As Chair of PAC, I so move.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Head. Councillor Rhino. Oh, does any councillor have any questions on the motion? Okay. Councillor Rhino, the Deputy Warden, and Councillor Garden-Cole. So Councillor Rhino, you were on first.
Thank you, Madam Ward, through you to staff. It's been mentioned here, nothing will change. It's only going to add another PID to that Russell McKean Drive. Is that correct?
Through Madam Warden, yes, there's no new structures being proposed and there's no new uses being proposed.
Okay, so then, in essence, that would add another member to the Russell McKean Drive Road Association, would I be correct? So that would actually, supposedly, in theory, put more money into that association?
Through Madam Chair, I'm not quite sure how road associations work, I'm sorry.
But they would have another PID to pull from, is what I'm trying to get at.
John might be able to.
John?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Warden. Yes, I guess we probably hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, if you have another property on the road, every property has a right to be represented in the road association.
Okay. Now, we also heard a concern from a resident that down the road, if that was ever sold into a much larger company and they wanted to enlarge that facility at that there. Now, didn't I, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't I hear if there's any further development on Russell McKean Drive or anything else, then Russell McKean Drive has to be brought up to municipal road standards?
Through you, Madam Warden, if it's an institutional use, the road doesn't, the way that it's worded right now, you don't have to, you could create a new lot and not bring it up and not have to bring the road up to new standards, but just say if they wanted to do something like build an apartment building, change the zone and create new lots that way, then the road would have to be brought up to municipal standards. So under the existing zoning, you can have an institutional use. They don't even have to subdivide the land, and they could apply for that institutional use.
Okay, but what I'm saying is if they go to add, let's say, 30 more bids onto that, then they don't have to bring Russell McKean Drive up to standard?
Through you, Madam Warden, no, there's no policies in there that require that. It would be through a development agreement application process, so council could look at that as part of the development agreement application process, saying that, that they have concerns over the access, but technically, no.
So how much right would we have as a council then if, through that development agreement, to require that if there ever was an addition put onto Serenity Lodge, to require that developer to bring that road up? How much leeway force would we have there?
Through Madam Warden, so if we had a future development agreement application where a larger facility was proposed, we would do our normal consultation with I&O, with provincial transportation and so on. And if there were issues that arose through that consultation process, we would present that to council, and if on that basis council turned an application down, I think you would be fine if there's some policy support for it, or through the DA process, maybe there are upgrades that are required to that road, and that could be rolled into that DA process. So there is protection for council there in terms of either not allowing it or allowing it with those upgrades.
Yeah, well, protection for council, I'm thinking of a protection for the homeowners on that road as well, right? So you're saying there is some kind of thing we can do if there is ever a bigger proposal for that lot?
Yeah, through you, Madam Warden, it's a discretionary approval, so council can approve it or not approve it. Again, I always say protection of council in terms of if you decide not to approve something, there has to be some policy basis for that. And in this case, if there were issues with the road and some concerns about that, that would be policy basis.
So that would be policy basis. We have some protection there for the future, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next to speak is Deputy Warden Dixon. You can turn around, Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment here to the presenters, to Mr. Purcell and Mr. Devy.
Through me concerning the presentation.
Through you concerning the presentation. Thank you. I know when I was counsel there before, we had issues with ATVs, we had issues with other people on the road. I met with this and we resolved those. I'd be gladly willing, if this motion goes through tonight, to meet with everybody to see if there's some way we can work at some of your problems there. I'd be willing to do that probably next week or the week after. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just an observation. I can certainly appreciate the concerns of the residents regarding the road conditions and the drainage issues that you've been having. It's very frustrating and at times costly. So I am sympathetic to that for sure. But the issue that we are looking at this evening is just strictly deciding whether we are going to change our policy regarding Serenity Lodge and having it on its own property. As far as the, the drainage and the issues with a provincial and also a private road, that's not really, not what we're looking at here this evening. But I do hope that you can, reach out to the province or maybe through Councillor Dixon and get some resolution for those issues going forward. Thank you.
Does any other councillor have any final questions or comments? Seeing none, we will go to the vote. And the motion has passed unanimously. So this concludes tonight's public hearing, and I would thank everyone for attending. So, councillors, going back to our agenda, we were, I believe we were still on the final item of correspondence for decision. And Yes, I believe it's been noticed that the air conditioner is running here and it is getting rather chilly, so I don't know if we could. All right, Counselor Merriam, back to you.
Great, thank you, Madam Warden. And picking up where we left off, I guess my comment is looking at the current state of affairs with that particular issue. To me, it seems like a fairness issue at the end of the day. I guess building on a little bit, an example that the CAO give, I can just imagine if a hurricane rolled through East Hants as it has before. I think most people would expect in the event that their house was severely damaged and a rebuild was required. I think most people would just not expect that your assessment would potentially, double, for example, in value. I think common sense would just be that if anyone were in that situation, your gut instinct would be that you'd be made whole at the end of the day. And, I think what's on the table is, well, there could be some ways to make it better, but over to you municipalities to figure that out and work on it. So I kind of look at this as, the proposition is to proceed with minimal red tape and minimal delay. So for that reason, I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion. So I move that the municipality of East Hants send a letter to NSFM and the Minister of Municipal Affairs to consider giving PVSC the authority to preserve or carry forward a property's pre-destruction capped assessment in the event of a natural disaster, mimicking the 2023 application of the same.
Do we have a seconded by Counselor Mitchell? Is there any discussion on the motion? I just asked the CAO, will that address the concerns? Okay. Seeing no one wishing to speak, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. So that concludes correspondence for decision. We have had our public hearing. We'll now go into committee reports, and we will start with the East Hants Source Protection, Water Protection Committee, Councillor Garden Cole.
Just need it nice and big. The committee held its regular meeting on October 15, 2025 electronically via Zoom. The following items were discussed. Update on water utility. Mr. Chad Granum provided a summary of the Shubenacadie River Third Stills Assessment Report. The main takeaway from the report is that the water being released into the Shubenacadie River via the engineered spring is not being lost to Grand Lake. Based on this conclusion, the ratio of the engineered spring input to the withdrawal rate was reduced from 4-to-1 to 2-to-1. Mr. Chad Greenham also discussed a request from Nova Scotia Environment and Climate Change for an additional intake study for the regional water treatment plant. Updates were provided for the Shubenacadie Water Treatment Plant, including progress on the backwash project and the development of the new production well, PW-2024. Regional environmental DNA sampling. Ms. Chelsea McPherson reported that staff conducted environmental DNA sampling at 6 locations within the watershed, which will help determine the presence of aquatic invasive species and species at risk. Results are expected in spring 2026. Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council Boat Wash, Grand Lake. Ms. Chelsea McPherson reported that the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council Mobile Boat Wash event scheduled for Oakfield Park in 2025 was canceled due to water conservation efforts. She noted that the project is funding dependent, with the Oakfield Park public boat launch scheduled for summer 2026. NSISC staff have previously focused outreach efforts around fishing derbies, but are seeking recommendations on timing to better engage with recreational boaters during popular weekends. Water conservation. Ms. Chelsea McPherson presented a graph illustrating past and present Shubenacadie River levels and explained the various thresholds that trigger action, such as activating the engineered spring and implementing voluntary or mandatory water conservation measures. She also shared watershed photos comparing the significant rainfall event of July 2023 with the drought conditions of October 2025, highlighting the drastic differences and challenges associated with both extreme weather events. Ms. McPherson further outlined the actions the municipality has taken to educate the public and promote water conservation from within. Aerotech Connector groundwater data. Ms. Chelsea McPherson noted Jesse Halsman had been regularly attending advisory meetings on the Aerotech Connector Road. East End staff will request well quality data from the Aerotech monitoring well for the next 2 years. Chinese mystery snail. Ms. Chelsea McPherson referenced an article that was published over the summer stating that there has been an increase in Chinese mystery snail sightings in the Halifax-Dartmouth area. These invasive species can alter the water quality of lakes, which makes it a concern for the Grand Lake watershed. Ms. Chelsea McPherson noted that the Nova Scotia Invasive Species Council will present at the spring meeting. Montague Mines site cleanup. Ms. Chelsea McPherson noted that a former gold mine site contaminated with mercury and arsenic from mine tailings will be remediated to restore the land and surrounding wetlands to productive habitat. The site, located adjacent to Lake Charles, will provide environmental benefits to the Grand Lake watershed. There are no motions coming forward as a result of this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Garden-Cole. Does anyone have any comments or questions on the report? Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just a question on the Chinese mystery snail through the staff. Could that travel up the Shuby River heading this way to affect our water source?
Okay, Councillor Garden-Cole, do you have an answer?
Oh, goodness, no.
Oh, sorry, I saw your light on. I thought you were wanting to
I have a
take-
question.
Okay. Okay, Jesse.
Through you, Madam Warden. Yes, from an invasive species thing, one of the beauties of architecture in Nova Scotia is the Shubenacadie Canal, which is also a gateway for different species to travel. And so it is something that has to monitor, and it is something that staff need to be on top of.
Thank you. Councillor Garden-Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to staff, can you go back to the presentation to the first page, please? So under the update on water utility, and yes, I am the chair of this committee and was present at the meeting, and there was a fair bit of discussion, obviously, with the conditions of the Shubenacadie River. But I am going to ask Jesse, I need it dumbed down for me. When it says spring is not being lost at Grand Lake, based on this conclusion, the ratio of the engineered spring input to the withdrawal rate was reduced from 4-to-1 to 2-to-1. Can you give me some clarification on that? And actually, that whole paragraph.
Through Madam Warden. So through a request from Nova Scotia Environment, they asked through studies for the utility to narrow down our output to match the water we're putting into the river with what it's being taken out of. The ratio was originally set at a target of 4-to-1 to account for the water losses that happen when it is dispersed. And so essentially what that means is when you push water into the river, there's things that will absorb it. Vegetation, it'll spread. One of the thoughts being that there was risk of water going back into the lake if it was being pumped into the river where it was. That was proven analytically that that is not happening, which meant that we as an operation could reduce what we're putting in because there isn't water being lost going back and circulating into the lake system. It is all going down the river, and the math allowed it to be narrowed to a 2-to-1 ratio. So we put in twice as much water into the river as we take out versus 4-to-1, which was the original approval. And that study was part of the reason that showed it and allowed for that to happen.
Okay, so now I have a question that's been brought to me by numerous residents, not just from my own district, but from others. And now we have just applied through the Department of Environment to change our ratio of what?
To change our approval to operate, that we're operating, pushing water at a 2-to-1 ratio instead of a 4-to-1 ratio. It's the engineered spring. So we're just pushing water. When we operate the spring, we're operating at a set point that is 2-to-1, not 4-to-1.
And, okay, so that's what our recent application has been for, and that's what they're going to do, that's what they're going to look into.
Correct.
Okay, I just needed that answer so that I can in turn answer people who are questioning me about it. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions on the report? Okay, then moving on, we will go to the Corporate and Residential Services Committee report. Back to you again, Councillor Garden Cole. Oh, staff, Adam, wish to. Go ahead, Adam.
Madam Warren, just ahead of, sorry, did you say Corporate Residential Services? Yeah, so Madam Warren, just ahead of the chair presenting the report, there was a memo that was attached just around council's conversation around the UNIAC, your business park, overall business park pricing terms and conditions policy. That is the second item on your report tonight for adoption. And I'll just note, we did go back and do the analysis, specifically looking at Councillor Musa's questions there. I will note, if you scroll down, we did notice from two things, and I'm not going to go through in detail because the memo has been attached. But from our initial analysis, some of the data had changed, so it actually did increase the overall average of the park there. So we are suggesting at the staff level to still keep that philosophy of the overall average, but in your staff report, it was $68 per square meter, and today we're recommending 80. If council wants to choose a different number, that's fine. Keeping in mind this is the minimum, so your policy, that the other policy changes is looking at the overall value in a matrix with this as your minimum, whereas before in your old policy this was the be all end all. Now you're looking at employment that might be brought in and other factors that we outlined last week for you. So in your report, when the chair presents it, you would either do an amendment to just suggest that the minimum for the UNIAC in the policy would be $80 per square meter. Should council want to increase it, or you can leave it, or do what you will with it. Thank you.
Okay, and Jesse, just before we move on to corporate, you had.
Through Madam Warden, I forgot a critical piece of a full circle rationale as the significance of 4-to-1 versus 2-to-1. And so those ratios is important from a conservation stance, that the utility is demonstrating the ability to be efficient for our ability to maximize our withdrawal from the river itself. And so as we look to approve for further withdrawals from the river, we need to demonstrate through studies that it can be done precisely and accurately for Nova Scotia Environment to be willing to increase or review or accept additional withdrawals from the Enfield Water Treatment Plant. So that is the critical piece of 4-to-1 versus 2-to-1.
And that is more along the lines of what I am being questioned about.
Yep.
So, okay. So ultimately, the result of that would be a favorable result in the municipality's mind would be that it would be the potential to withdraw more.
Through you, Madam Warden, that is one piece of the puzzle. And the next piece of the puzzle is the exact behavior of the river at our intake, which is the next study, which was part of a public motion that went forward, that is set to go forward this evening. It was mentioned in executive committee last week. So there was the third still, which demonstrates the engineered spring efficiencies and ability to be precise. And then there's specific river behavior that Nova Scotia Environment wants to understand directly at the intake, which is the next study before further approvals can be applied for.
So, and that's very thorough. The people, I think the concern is the level of the river, the lack of snow, the lack of water, the level of the river going forward, and the potential of taking more water out of the river. So if more water is coming out, ultimately, is it coming out of the river? Is it coming out of the lake? Where is it most affected?
Through Madam Warden, the general principle of operating the engineered spring at low river levels is that the East Hants utility, through the use of the engineered spring, is operating to not impact the river downstream of the water treatment plant from circumstances that would otherwise have happened in the environment. So extreme drought, if the Enfield water treatment plant didn't exist, there would still be drought. And so we're putting back in the river from the lake we're putting back in the river what we are taking out of the river upstream. And so the net difference past the Enfield water treatment plant, it should be net zero.
Okay.
Is how we are instructed to operate the plant. It's not to prevent drought in the river. It is to have no net difference in how we operate in the river. And that's what can be confusing is there can still be low river levels downstream of us operationally, but we are instructed through our approvals to operate like that. The engineered spring, in theory, could operate at a higher level, but we are mandated to not tamper with the natural way the river would have otherwise been, is how the approvals read.
Okay, I think I've got that. Thank you.
CAO.
Through you, Madam Warden, I think the important piece to understand is that the reason these studies are being done is to change our approval to operate with the new plant that came online. So we've increased the capacity of your water treatment plant. You need to have approvals to operate that match that capacity. So that's what these studies are being done for.
Okay, now we'll move along to corporate and residential. Oh, sorry, Councillor Tingley.
Through the chair, just a quick question. The engineered spring that you're talking about, this is just, where's that getting its water from?
I think I can answer that, Grand Lake.
Then the second question is, do we know how much we're taking out of Grand Lake?
Yes. Go ahead, Jesse.
Through Madam Warden, yes, it is. There's a pump rate and it can be calculated on a monthly basis.
Okay, that's it.
Third time lucky. We're going to corporate and residential services, Councillor Garden Cole.
Okay. The committee held its regular meeting on October 21st, 2025, and the following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. Item number 1, water utility rate review. The Director of Finance introduced presenters Jerry Eisner and Blaine Rooney, who conducted a water utility water rate review on behalf of the municipality of East Hants. It was noted that the water rates have not been adjusted since April 2019. Based on the report submitted and presented, it was suggested requested that the rates be adjusted for the municipality to break even. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to Council that Council direct that the East Hants Water Utility apply to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board for changes to its rates for water and water service, fire protection to the municipality, and changes to its regulations for customers served by the utility as set out in the water rate study prepared by G.A. Eisner Consulting Limited in association with Blaine S. Rooney Consulting Limited. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. The motion is passed unanimously.
Item number 2, repeal of business park pricing policy, adoption of the business park sale of land terms and conditions policy. Staff presented a report outlining the suggested changes in the current business parks pricing policy and the wish to adopt the new business park sale of land terms and conditions policy in its place. These changes would improve the terms of selling municipal lots in the Elmsdale and Uniacke business parks. The new policy maintains the intent of the previous policy while strengthening the East Hants legal position, clarifying sale terms, and introducing fairer evaluation methods for lot sales. At the direction of committee, staff have provided additional information memo attached to the agenda outlining the analysis of assessments in the Uniacke Business Park. Council is asked to review the memo before making the following motions. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to Council that Council repeal the business parks pricing policy and that Council approve the business park sale of land terms and conditions policy. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends that Council approve the real estate brokerage commission fee to be set at 3% on the first $500,000 of the purchase price and 1.5% on the remainder plus applicable taxes. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Hey, just before we move on, I just want clarification. Is council comfortable moving these as one motion, or would you prefer to have them separate motions? One motion is fine? Okay. Councillor Musa.
Is it the right time to talk about the pricing or the next motion? Okay.
I rolled it into one.
Okay. Well, it's a good report, but I think it's kind of different than what I thought. Well, looking at the phase 3, the big development for Atlas, we only sold them 11 acres, and they purchased somewhere else that land that wasn't ours, and the whole development happened on our land, and that should put that $293,000 and almost $800,000 if you just take in consideration the 11 acre we sold them. And the expansion phases is 736 with where we should be. And the initial phases, I remember I bought my lot for $18,000 and my whole building cost me $130,000 back then, but I couldn't replace it now for $1 million. So if we want to stay in a pass, it's great. It's a great report. But if we want to move, and I don't think anything is going backward right now. Those prices, they're not going to go back to the 200,000. So I think we only have 2 lots. I think we should get our pricing for those 2 lots now strong, because we don't, just in case we get just one offer on them. So we're going to take it. I think the prices I see in front of me are very reasonable, and we got to go with the float, like construction cost now, and we cannot say we want 200,000 where we can't get 700,000. So I think I don't want to go 700,000, but I would like to go at least 4 or 5, because the numbers are there. But the way we put them together, we took 36 acres that the developer bought from different company, and they're not zoned any business park. Like, they're not zoned business park, and the development didn't happen. Probably they bought it for future development or for expansion. But what we sold them, the 10 million happened on it, and the 18 million is going to happen on it. So if you divide that by 11 acres instead of 37 acres, you'll have a much higher number, and the whole thing will change. So I think we have a very good opportunity over there, and we only have few lots, and I don't know if we're gonna have any lots in the future, because there's no land over there for, near that park. So I think we only have to worry about those 2 lots here, and I think we go strong on them, and that's my point. I don't know how about everybody else feel.
Okay. Adam, over to you.
Yeah, through you, Madam Warren, I would just suggest to, through what I heard there from the local councillor, if you, I just did the quick math as you were talking here, if you wanted to go 400,000 an acre, you would come out to approximately $100 per square meter. If you want to go 500,000 per acre, you're looking at, I'd probably actually round it up to $125 per square meter. I don't think I'm going to comment on the Atlas conversation, because it's, I can appreciate the perspective that you're looking at. When we're looking at the overall land value, you're looking at the acres of land. I do see where you're coming from and hear that, but I think specifically for the price per acre, I think if you're going to amend the motion, I think, which is what we were suggesting initially to committee or to council here today, at the 400,000, you're looking at $100, or 500,000, you're looking at about $125. And just one other tidbit, so we have 2 lots that this would apply to. And I would just note, one of the lots is somewhat unique, though it's 4.6 acres. About 0.6 of that is really a small, it's a triangle piece, so it'll be hard to build specifically on that. But so I would just note that. But really, the decision's here in front of council today, you know, and we'll absolutely work to achieve that for sure.
So, one more question, are those lots subdividable? So we can accommodate more lots on them or not? Because now we reduce our lot to 1 acre, I think. I like to see us, just my point, I like to us get the most for our investment. That's what we're here for. The resident invested in that business park, and I think they should get the most rewarding for their investment.
Yeah, through you, Madam Warren. I think I don't have that in front of me. I mean, potentially they could be, I don't know, have the frontages in front of me to accurately answer your question. But what I would say is we're seeing more of a demand for the larger lots right now in the marketplace than the smaller lots. So if we could divide it into smaller lots, I'm not sure that would yield better. But I mean, ultimately, we're here to make the business parks produce for council and to produce for your bottom line, and that's what we're going to do.
CAO.
Just for clarity, the $80 or $100 per acre, we're not talking at this point about the price of the lots. We're talking
No,
about the requirements under the
investment.
policy of what needs to be invested on them. Okay.
Okay, anything further, Councilor Musa?
I would like to move the amendment to be $100 per square meter, wherever Adam calls.
So you are moving an amendment that it,
Instead of $80 per meter, so to 100.
okay. Now, Larry, we're a little complicated because that wording is not in the motion.
That's why I asked if that's the motion we need or the other one.
It is within the business park sale of land terms and condition policy.
Through Madam Warden, it would relate to policy statement 8A.
So I would suggest that the amendment would be to change the wording in policy statement 8A.
Yeah.
To
From-
reflect.
$100.
I think we're getting very confused because we're voting on a policy here, and it's very difficult to change the policy. So I understand what wants to be done, but this motion, I'm going to ask that someone move to table this motion and allow us to have discussion on the policy document. And then, if we change the policy document, or if we don't, we can then lift the motion from the table and vote on the policy document and the information that's in it. And then I think it would be cleaner as to try to amend the document that the motion came forward from, which, instead of the motion itself. Does everyone understand what I'm saying?
So if you table this, we can write a motion in the next few minutes to,
Well, all we would have to do is change the wording in the document that it refers to.
this refers to what was approved at committee or at council.
All this motion says is that council approve the business park sale of land terms and conditions policy.
With, so Madam Warden, this motion came from council to give notice that they've given notice that you're gonna make the change.
But since then, staff have provided an addendum.
Right.
So, to my way of thinking, if staff can provide an addendum that changes what was in front of us at that time, I don't see why we could not make a further change before we vote on it. I'm not sure. If we're sticking directly to the idea that we're going to approve the business park sale of land terms and conditions policy as we gave notice to, then what we gave notice to has changed since then.
So through you, you could say that council approved the business park sale and land terms and conditions policy as they gave notice, with an amendment to section 5 that changes the square meter in the Mount Uniacke Business Park to $100 of investment instead of 68.
So the amendment to the motion would add the words.
That it would change the investment required in the Mount Uniacke Business Park from 68 per square meters to $100 per square meter. And then that would enable us to change the policy, post it, and be done.
Yep,
Councillor Musa, you're moving that amendment?
I move that amendment.
Staff, do you have that clarified? Councillor Tingley has seconded the amendment. Now, just for clarification, we're discussing and voting on this amendment now, which changes what's on the screen, so that the policy reflects the numbers that Councillor Musa has brought forward. So is there any discussion on the amendment, which is to add the change in value? Seeing none, we'll vote on the amendment. And for clarity, that is changing it from $68 to $100 as opposed to $80 as was originally suggested. Okay. One more person needs to vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. To the amended motion. Is there any discussion on the amended motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously. Okay, back to you, Councillor Garden-Cole.
Item number 3, Uniacke Business Park lot pricing and availability. Staff presented a report that the municipality recently repurchased 2 lots in the Uniacke Business Park, and they can be sold once they are added to the business park inventory and assigned sale prices. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to Council that the Uniacke Business Park lot pricing and availability document dated September 15, 2025 be approved. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Item 4, F. Sands report. The committee considered a confidential land issue during an in-camera session which resulted in the following recommendation. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to Council that staff bring back a report on the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia Fire Service Governance Study recommendations and the implications for East Hants moving forward. As Chair of the Committee, I so move.
Second that.
Seconded by Deputy Warden Dixon. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously.
This concludes the report.
Thank you, Councillor Garden Cole. Next on our agenda is the Planning Advisory Committee report and the updated 2025 Housing Strategy Report. Councillor Mitchell.
The committee held its regular meeting on October 21 and an extended meeting on October 23, 2025 in council chambers. The following motions are coming forward as a result of that meeting. Number one, Plan 25-003, Serenity Lodge, final staff report. That was dealt with at the public hearing. Number two, Plan 25-004, Havenwood Drive, final staff report, MPS and LUB mapping amendments. Staff presented the final report regarding the application to amend land use designation and zoning to support new residential development. Staff advised that the public information meeting and the first reading had already taken place. The approval motion is to be dealt with at a public hearing in November. The committee also discussed notification of the public hearing in light of the uncertainty with mail delivery. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council direct staff, due to the Canada Post strike, to use the Chronicle Herald, the municipal website, and social media as a way to notify the public of the November public hearing if Canada Post moves back to a full work stoppage. As chair of the committee, I so move.
We have a seconder, seconded by Councillor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Back to you, Councillor
Number
Mitchell.
three, Plan 25-002, Magnolia Continuing Care Assisted Living Facility. Staff presented a report on an application for Magnolia Continuing Care Holdings Limited with a request to amend the existing development agreement for an assisted living facility which would expand the facility from 70 to 76 units and adjust the parking lot from 71 to 92 spaces and had a front entrance canopy. Public feedback indicated general support for the project, noting the need for more senior housing in the area. The approval motion is to be dealt with at a public hearing in November. The committee also discussed notification for the public hearing in light of the uncertainty with mail delivery. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends the council direct staff to use the Chronicle Herald, the municipal website, and social media as a way to notify the public of the public hearing should Canada Post move to a complete work stoppage. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Hebb. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Number four, Plan 25-006, Arkham Developments, MPS and LUB amendments and development agreement application. Staff presented a report on an application that was received by Arkham Developments Limited to amend the MPS and LUB and to enter into a development agreement to allow construction of two 4-story multi-unit residential buildings. The proposal requires changing the land use designation and rezoning from R2 to R3 to permit higher density housing. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council authorize staff to schedule a public information meeting to consider an application from Arkham Development Limited to amend the MPS and LUB by changing the land use designation and zones for portions of PIDs 452-35843 and 452-35835 Dory Lane, Enfield. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Through you to staff, so I am going to ask you to bring up a zoning, if you are able to do that, a zoning diagram.
Technology is great when it works. Any ideas, Tom, on how we can make this work?
You can use a presentation,
Okay, John, I've turned your mic on.
So that's at least a portion of, I don't know if you wanted to look at a wider area of
Yeah,
zoning, but that shows the
if
zoning.
you can. The one that we looked at last week, which showed the zoning in District 1 Enfield. Is that possible?
No.
Okay.
I need to get to show you the mapping portal.
Okay. So I guess, council, what I wanted to point out, something that I hadn't mentioned last week. Obviously, you realize that I'm not in favor of having 2 4-story apartment buildings in this residential area next to the Magnolia, parallel to Alderney Drive, which is single dwelling units. And the reason being, if you recall back in the early 2020s, the MU zoning, which is at this end of Enfield, permitted 4-story apartment buildings, and we spent months to reduce that down to 3-story in the area closer to the residential area of Enfield. So there's 4-story apartment buildings permitted and will go in from Avery's on, and now it's 3-story apartment buildings permitted over to the Magnolia. And that was to try and downsize into the residential area. Now, we're looking at a proposal to shoot back up to 4 stories again in what is zoned R1 and R2. It doesn't make any sense to me from a planning point of view, or as a resident said to me this week, the essence of our community and our neighborhoods is going by approving all these denser applications in areas where they're not permitted as of right. Secondly, the implication that we need to push for more densification in zones that don't allow it so that we can enable transit is a really bad way to introduce transit to the area. I had a coworker who said they never even knew transit was on the board. And now, now it comes at the meeting last week that if we push for more densification, that's how we're going to enable transit. That's not a great way, not a great introduction to transit in the area. So I'm just asking that council consider that we do have a plan for how we build out and where the higher apartment buildings are, and to zone down and then zone back up again in a residential area. It's really poor planning. Thank you.
Does any other counselor wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote.
And I just need a point of clarification on the...
I can't turn your mic on right now, sorry.
Pressure button is.
I have to find her okay. Point of clarification, Councillor Garden Cole?
I just want the motion brought up.
Public hearing information.
Great, thank you.
Is that all, Councillor Garden Cole?
Yes, it is, thank you.
Councillor Musso? Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add to Councillor Garden Cole too. So we did those planning knowing that what we want in each area. Now we're doing planning for the other side of the highway. Like I don't see on the other side where there's no people there yet. I don't see as many apartment buildings as we have where the people are. So I think that contradict all our strategy, and like, if you have an open area now and we only put like few apartment in it, like small zone out of the 400, 500 or 600 acres there, and now we're saturating everything in the corridor area where people live now and affecting their day-to-day life. I think that's poor planning, as Councilor Garden-Cole said. Thank you.
John?
Thank you, Madam Warden. I guess what I would say is that your planning documents are living documents, that they were never meant to be carved in stone, that nothing ever changes. Having said that, through every plan review I've been through here, we've always heard from low-density subdivisions. People are concerned about higher density or other land uses intruding, so that's actually why, I think in the 2016 review it was, that the established residential neighborhood designation was created to kind of let people know that that's exactly what it was, so that they could feel some protection. And so those areas that are already developed, have that protection. So I don't think if you live in an area that is already built out, that you need to fear, changing overnight kind of thing where you're going to have larger buildings come in. However, where you have large blocks of bulk land, I think, that's kind of within the spirit of planning to if somebody proposes something different, to take a look at it and see if it makes sense. That's, I guess, why our discussions with this developer to that point were sort of along those lines. We're dealing with a large block of undeveloped land, having not formed a planning opinion on it yet, whether it's the right thing to do or not, but at least that got the conversation going. Whereas if they had proposed to put something in the center of an actual built-out subdivision, it would have been a non-starter for us. I don't know if that helps you understand our thinking.
Any further discussion on the motion? And just to refresh, the motion is to schedule a public information meeting and go forward. We'll go to the vote. Someone has not voted. And it is a tie vote. 5-5, the motion is lost. Oh, we should read who voted what way. Yes. Voting against, Deputy Warden Dixon, myself, Councillor Musa, Councillor Rhino, and Councillor Garden-Cole. Voting in favor, Councillor McPhee, Councillor Merriam, Councillor Hebb, Councillor Mitchell, and Councillor Tingley.
So, Madam Warden, before we go on, I guess I would just let you know that means we'll treat this as a deemed refusal, even though council didn't actually say to refuse the application. If you can't agree to go to a PIM, the process essentially stops, and then we'll let the applicant know that it's been deemed refused.
Is council in agreement with that interpretation? Okay, back to you, Councillor Mitchell.
Number 5, Plan 25-008, Casey Concrete Development Agreement Application. Staff presented the first report on the application from Casey Concrete Limited to enter into a development agreement with the municipality to permit a pre-mixed concrete batch plant within the Milford Business Park. The proposed 60 feet by 40 feet facility would allow on-site concrete mixing to improve quality control, reduce transportation needs, and lower emissions. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council give initial consideration to enter into a development agreement for a pre-mixed concrete batch plant use located on property identified as PID 451-77128, 57 Lona Street, Harvard Lands, to enable a public hearing and authorize staff to schedule a public hearing. As chair of committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Number 6, Land Secondary Planning Strategy, amendments to MPS and LUB. Staff presented a report on the land secondary planning strategy that has been completed by consultants FBM and Englobe to guide further development in the Lands Growth Reserve area. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council give first reading to the amendments of the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw relating to the land secondary planning strategy and authorize staff to schedule a public hearing. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Musa. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Number 7, Lakeshore Floodplain Mapping. The Director of Planning and Development presented a report on the feasibility and the cost of creating a floodplain protection around lakes in East Hants. It was determined that mapping would be complex and costly. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends to council that council maintain current lakeshore setback regulations and not pursue floodplain mapping and regulations surrounding lakes. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. The motion is passed unanimously.
Number 8, Housing Strategy. Planning and Development staff presented the draft housing strategy which resulted from the work of the Municipal Housing Working Group. The strategy is intended to provide guidance to the municipality on how it can enable additional affording housing to be built. Some of the actions can be started immediately and others will be considered further in the upcoming planning review in 2026. The Planning Advisory Committee recommends that council approves the East Hants housing strategy with the amendments made around the 5 mini homes in the RU2 zone and those amendments made at the meeting this evening, October 23rd, 2025. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
This concludes the report.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Next, we will go to Parks, Recreation, and Culture report. Oh, just before that, you have a question, Councillor Musa? Go ahead.
Actually, it's an apology from John. I didn't mean poor planning. I meant poor decision by council if it go forward. So you did great job planning that, John, and that's what we're sticking with. And thank you. So I'm sorry if I didn't mean to say it this way. So
Thank you, Councillor Musa. Okay, we'll move to Parks, Rec, and Culture. Councillor Rhino.
Thank you, Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on October 21st, 2025. The following motions are coming forward as a result of the meeting. Mount Uniacke splash pad. Staff presented a report after council requested the staff explore the feasibility of establishing a splash pad in Mount Uniacke. Staff reviewed system types, water availability, operating models, and potential locations. It was noted that no municipal property currently has sufficient well capacity at this time. So from that, the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommends that council advise staff to keep splash pads as an option for recreational development in Mount Uniacke area on lands that are considered feasible. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Councillor Mitchell. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Musa.
I agree with the motion, but I want to add to it, like, I want to amend it, or if I can add to the motion that staff with the future development, if piece of land that could be an open space from future development that arise and be suitable for some kind of, to be looking for it, like when they ask for open space from future development.
I think that's kind of captured with lands that are considered feasible. Would that be the intent?
Oh, the intent, like if we have a new subdivision coming and you find a piece of parcel that you like to have for,
Oops. Go ahead, Alana.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Warden. That is the interpretation and the intent behind that motion. So staff will certainly consider that in any sort of future open space negotiation and such. Yep.
okay, Madam Warden, I'm happy with that, so I remove whatever I said. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Number 2, Community Grant Program Fund. Staff presented a report that Community Grant Program had fully spent its allotted budget for 25-26 as of September, halfway through the year. There will be continued demand for grants through this program. So from that, the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommends the council approve $12,000 from general government reserves to be added to Community Grant Program budget to meet the demand for this funding program for 25-26. As chair of the committee, I do so move.
Seconded by Councillor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
This concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Rhino. We'll now go to the Infrastructure and Operations Committee report. Vice Chair, Councillor Musa.
Thank you, Madam Warden. The committee held its regular meeting on October 21st, 2025, and the following motions are coming forward as a result of those meetings. Number 1, Enfield Water Treatment Plant Intake Study. Staff presented a report outlining that the Enfield Water Treatment Plant requires an environmental study at its Shubenacadie River intake before additional water withdrawal limits can be considered, as requested by Nova Scotia Environment and Climate Change. The Infrastructure and Operation Committee recommend that Council approve $67,500, including tax, for the completion of an environmental study of Enfield Water Treatment Plant river intake to be funded from the Housing Accelerator Fund, and that the Chief Administrative Officer be approved to procure a consultant to complete the study via a negotiated sole source procurement. As a Vice Chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Tingley. Councillor Mitchell.
Questions, Madam Warden, through you to staff. Does this go along with the rate review, or these are two separate items? Any connection between the two?
So who's taking this question? Over to you, Jesse.
Through you, Madam Warden, so where we have specific half funding, I do not believe that's related to the rate review.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously by those present in the room at the time of the vote. Back to you, Councillor Musa.
Item number 2, Lance Lagoon desludging. Staff presented a report advising that the Lance Lagoon desludging is being adjusted due to higher than expected sludge in cell 1. The first cell was able to stay within the budget but was not completed by to more sludge than originally estimated. The Infrastructure and Operation Committee recommend that Council approve the use of $600,000 already approved for use to dislodge Cell 2 of the Lance Lagoon to also be used to continue desludging work in Cell 1, and that the CAO be approved to negotiate a sole source procurement for the next phase of work for this capital project 24-033. Sludge Management Infrastructure, Lance Lagoon. As the Vice Chair of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Merriam. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councillor Mitchell.
Just a question through you, Madam Warden, to staff. We're going to come in under budget, you think, or on budget?
Jesse?
Through you, Madam Warden. So the approach will be similar to the first phase where we're focused on cost control and cost management. So we're not looking to do more work than is approved as we continue to learn about how to most effectively desludge. So the coming in over budget through this procurement, unlikely. That said is what we do need to prepare through the next budget cycle is to put more money aside for desludging because we know that there's more sludge than we originally thought. So there will be longer term costs with desludging, just not through this process.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. The motion is passed unanimously by those present in the room to vote.
Madam Warden, this concludes the report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Could we have the vote taken down, Shirley, please? Thank you. So that concludes the committee reports for this evening. The next item is the warden's report, so I would turn the chair over to the deputy warden. It should be. Well, let's see if I can do it.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, Madam Warden, please present your report.
Okay. I have a few things. I'm not going to list every place that I went and everything that I did in the previous month. I would just say that I did attend the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation on the 30th of September. And did, I think there were 8 members of council there all told, if I counted correctly. I can't make out my writing, so I may miss something. On October the 6th, I attended a community barbecue in Upper Rawdon, hosted by the Rawdon District Volunteer Fire Department. And on October the 22nd, I represented council at the East Hants Chamber of Commerce Awards Banquet and presented an award to Nonprofit of the Year, I believe it was, on behalf of council. And the winner of that award was the East Hants Ground Search and Rescue. Before I finish, I do have a couple of items I'd like to bring forward to council. First off, I have had discussion with, and I know this was discussed somewhat at committee, but there was no motion in consulting with the director. I couldn't remember if a motion was made, and he didn't feel there was. So there was discussion around our agricultural reserve zone, and I have run across a situation in my district that I could see being replicated elsewhere. I have and this may be looked at through another farm request sooner, but in the case that it's not, I want to get this on the record, that if a farmer owns a large amount of acres and wishes to put an extension on a barn, and the barn was pre-existing prior to the zoning. And this particular barn was closer to the public road than our regulations currently permit. But this barn is 70 feet from the road. So that wasn't far enough. And if he had another lot of land adjacent to that, that would be fine. And he does, except the road runs through it. He owns all the land on the other side of the road as well, but our definition of adjacent land doesn't allow us to consider that. So I guess what I would like to do when I'm finished, I'm going to make a motion. Also, when discussing this with the farmer and with staff, I discovered that some of our definitions in our zone, in our definitions of intensive livestock operations are somewhat confusing to me. That one would think that one unit would be one animal, but one unit is 2 beef cows, but one unit is only 1.5 dairy cows. And that doesn't really make any sense to me. So I'm going to make a motion that in the upcoming plan review, that definitions around intensive livestock be reviewed, and that regulations around setbacks required and definitions of adjacent land be reviewed. And that's my motion. Let these be reviewed in the upcoming plan review.
We have a seconder, Councillor McPhee. Questions on that, Councillor Rhino? I lost you, buddy. Could you put it on again, please? What am I doing right here?
Approve.
Okay, so this report will address things like roadways running through properties and kind of dividing properties, or 2 separate properties owned by the same entity.
Through you,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, the intent, I think, would be to treat something that's across the street as adjacent if you own the same property across the street, whereas right now, the definition, it's only if it's truly adjacent, you share a property line. That would be the intent there. Is that your question? Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, go for the vote. And the vote is carried 10-0. Okay, back to you, Madam Warden.
And I have one other item here. I've heard from numerous folks, and I'm sure if I'm hearing it in the rural area, probably some of the counselors in the more developed areas are hearing it too, about the length of time that, and I know it varies over time, but the length of time folks are having to wait for a building inspection. And I understand we have only so many employees and they can only do so much in a day. But when you're building, and I'm talking about the small builders in the rural area, if you're building a new home or doing an addition and you have a certain amount of time set aside, or your contractor does to do it, it's very challenging if you have to wait, 2 weeks or whatever for an inspection before you can do anything else. And I know that we are going to be going to market for a building inspector to replace a retiring building inspector right away. And if I remember correctly, I think we were told in the CAO's report that we were approaching the need for another building inspector on top of what we had. And I just think there would be some economies of scale if we could go to market and advertise for the 2 building inspectors at the same time, because as we all know, these are very difficult folks to come by. And every municipality in the province needs them with the approach to increasing housing. And there is not it's not like you can go to community college and take a course to be a building inspector. The province does offer courses, but only at select times. And not everyone, perhaps who's a carpenter who would be interested, perhaps has the time to, at any given time, to do those on their own. So anyway, I am going to throw a motion out there that as we go to market for the building inspector position to replace a retiring inspector, that we also hire another inspector and go to the market at the same time for that position.
Okay, seconded by Councilor McPhee. Do you have any comments or questions? Councilor Rhino.
So what the warden's asking for is pre-budget approval for next year. I would assume that's what this is about. Well, it's definitely coincidental that 3 times this week I've been asked why it takes so long for approvals to get put through 6 to 8 weeks. They're drawing comparisons between West Hants, Colchester, and so on, and they're saying, rightly or wrongly, that East Hants is falling behind and is not the place to do business. And I've heard that this week. So is it being overworked? Is it anything that can be done that can make this more efficient? What is the problem? And I'll just mention, I put in for a building permit for a shed. It's still for a simple shed, and it took a week or two weeks, something like that to me. I don't know. I'm not a planner. I'm not a building inspector, but a simple shed, why shouldn't that be done the same day as it coming in? Or am I not getting something, is just the workload too heavy? Could somebody explain it to me?
Okay, we go to the director. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's simply workload. We're just busier than we've ever been. And in addition to that, it's one of those technical professions that is always having to do training. So, through the summer, there was some training that happened in addition to people, of course, needed to take their vacation. So, even though, we have 4 inspectors, you don't always have 4 inspectors available. So, it's been a struggle. And we've also, as we've done in the past, we have a, if you will, 5th inspector. He's our fire official, but he's also a qualified building official. And we've been using him 1 day a week for about a month or 2 now.
Well, is there any way that we can do something also in-house to expedite such things as small items or different things like that, which would put in and out a lot quicker? Is there something we can do or look at for that?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I mean, we could, but you would then be bumping somebody else. And I get it that, yes, a shed's not going to take very long to do, but, we get a lot of that kind of small stuff. So you would inevitably, somebody would wait longer for their permit for a house or something larger. We were actually going to ask for another building official as part of the budget process this coming year. And so if that gets moved up, that's great, I think, because I think the work is there. The other thing that we are doing is we're moving to an electronic permitting system. Now, that's actually taking more work right now because we're implementing it. But eventually the hope is that, say right now, people will send us an email with their plans and tell us, who the contacts are and all that sort of thing. Somebody then needs to retype all that information back into our building inspection program, Town Suite. With the new system, people, as soon as they put their permit in, that stuff all populates into our system, so nobody has to retype that stuff. The other thing that we do, and we've done this for many years, is, and we actually have a dedicated position to this now, the person who schedules the building inspections tries to do it, because we're such a large geography, you can burn half a day going to Walton to do one inspection. And so we try to make sure that we group those so that you're not going to Mount Uniacke or Walton, for one inspection. But that means people in those areas can sometimes wait a little bit longer so that we get 2 or 3 or 4 inspections in a geographic area. So there's always those trade-offs that we're out constantly doing.
I understand that, yeah. Well, I accept your response, but I'm just looking for ways to expedite the smaller project, which may help with the bigger project. Thank you.
That's everything, Counselor?
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Through you, I just want to say that I see this as a problem of a rapidly growing municipality, and if it can be helped and aid people by hiring an additional person in addition to the one that is retiring, then I definitely support it. Thank you.
Okay, any other, one moment, Counselor Musa.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. John, so we have now 2 inspectors?
Okay. Can you hit your red button there, John, please? Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Warden. No, we have 4 building officials, and then we have a 5th who's our fire inspector.
Oh, okay. And I just want to ask, if you're trying to build a house, how many inspection you need to do, like footing, then probably 4 or 5 at least?
It's actually up to 7 now.
Up to 7. That's if no deficiency and he have to go back for the same inspection. So if you multiply 7 by 400 or 500 a year, that's a lot of work for those inspectors. And we're growing, we should be happy we're growing, and I think that position is needed, and we should go for it right now, probably yesterday. So, thank you.
That's everything, Counselor? Okay, hearing nobody else looking, we'll go for the vote, please. Okay, the vote is unanimous.
It's gone.
Okay, back to you, Madam Warden.
That concludes my report at this time. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but
all
that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, pass the chair back to you.
Thank you. We'll now move to business from councilors. I don't remember where I started last time. Does anyone else? We started over there. We'll start with Councillor Rhino then this time.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I'll be quick because there's a ball game on. September 30th, I attended Truth and Reconciliation. October the 15th, in the breakfast in Old Legion. October the 5th, I presented a 90th birthday certificate to Robina Miller of South Maitland. October 24th, dime auction in Maitland, and October 25th, I attended the Tenacay Hall community event and an Old Legion dime auction for their yard they're doing down there. And that's it for me.
Thank you. It's Councillor Garden Cole.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I too attended the ceremonies for the Peace and Reconciliation, and it's always very meaningful. As well, I attended the most recent CCOA board meeting where we are striving to be in the new building within a couple of weeks, and I try not to laugh when I say that because it's not that funny. But the only thing I'd like to bring up to council this evening is, so I'm talking about crosswalks in the Enfield area near the RCMP. The River Residence is 3 apartment buildings, 3 three-story apartment buildings that are built on the opposite side of the sidewalks, which is unusual so far in the corridor area. Pretty much all the crosswalks, all the sidewalks, all the apartments have been built on the same side of the road as the sidewalks. But we've got 3 apartments, the last one just finished off, and they are on the opposite side of the road. They also take pets, they take dogs. So we've got a lot of dog walkers who are looking to cross the road there to get to the crosswalk, and not to mention the school-age children coming out of those 3 big apartment buildings who are also trying to get across the road to the sidewalks where the bus stops are. I have tried in the past to get CCRCE busing to move about a year ago when there were 2 apartment buildings open, to get them to pick kids up on the same side of the road, and they said it was absolutely impossible. I'm not sure why it was so impossible, but it was. So now we've got a 3rd apartment building open, and I'm hoping that we can petition to the Department of Highways, when we build these apartment buildings on the sides of the road without the sidewalk, that there is definitely a need for a crosswalk in those areas. So I would like to make a motion to council that we write a letter to Department of Public Works requesting their consideration of a crosswalk near or right about the residence apartments. I think that's what they're called. The River Residence Apartments in Enfield near the RCMP station. And I would like that, if approved, I would like that copied to Minister McDonald. That's it.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. And the motion is passed unanimously.
Well, it's not even built yet. And there's going to be
Anything further, Councillor Garden Cole?
That's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, there's so much yapping here. I can't filter it all out.
Your mic picks up every
whoops.
whisper you make, Councillor
Sorry,
Garden
Norval.
Cole.
Okay, my other item was the garbage situation has been resolved on Concord Way, much to the delight of the residents. So thank you so much to staff for making that happen. But the only other issue on Concord Way is the parking that is happening in the non-parking area in the lower part of the street. So my first question, and I ask this question a lot, is how do we enforce it?
Yeah. Your light's on, that's why I asked. Okay. Go ahead, Jesse. Oh, I tried. There.
Through you, Madam Warden, there are 2 options for enforcement. One is through bylaw enforcement. I do believe we're still in the process municipally of updating our bylaws to list specific spots so they're enforceable, to improve the enforceability of those bylaws. That said, is at any point, the RCMP can issue tickets for motor vehicle infractions. Call the RCMP. No, this is parking on Concord Way. Yep. So at any point, if there is a motor vehicle violation, the RCMP can enforce, and that is their job to enforce.
And so that can be initiated by the residents to call the RCMP?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what they want to know. Thank you. Nope, that's it. Normal.
Speak on the crosswalk issue.
So through you, Madam Warden, you've just made a motion to write a letter requesting the province permit a crosswalk at those apartment buildings. Consider it. So that would also come with the municipality paying for said crosswalk. So is that something that you're prepared to put in your budget for next year? I think the one in the center of Enfield was 185 or 200,000. I'm not sure it would need all the infrastructure that needed, but do you also want that put in your budget for consideration if the province comes back and says, yes?
So typically, when we first, at the very embryonic stages of talking about a crosswalk, do we also throw funding into there right off the get-go?
Well, you would need, through you, Madam Warden, you would need to be prepared to know that if you got approval to do it, that it does come with a cost to the municipality.
Well, I mean, I assumed when I threw it out there that we are going on that assumption, that if it's approved, that they don't typically put any money into them, right?
No.
I just think when you are having 3 apartment buildings and, all the money that those generate, that when they're on the opposite side of the road, I feel, and if there's another one going up somewhere else through the corridor, it's gonna, a crosswalk is a really necessary piece of infrastructure to get those folks over to the sidewalk on the other side. As I say, this is our first experience with it, but it will happen further along and anywhere else that we have it. But this is just the first time that it's come to us.
Okay, well, wait.
Thank you.
And I'd just add that might be something, if we are going through a development agreement thing with some of these apartments, that perhaps we could ask that they at least partially fund something like this for safety reasons. It's something to think about. I don't know if it's doable or not. Okay, Councillor Musa.
Yeah, I want to add to the warden too. So with the plan review, John, can we put something in our, like I know now they have to provide sidewalk where there is sidewalk. If there's no sidewalk, they don't have to?
Go ahead, John.
To you, Madam Ward. No, in that case, there's no sidewalk network on that side of the road to connect to, so it really didn't even come up when that development went in. I think as there's more development in that area, maybe there's a discussion about a future local improvement there to add sidewalks to that side of the road.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming from. I want to make a motion that to add this to the planning review. If as of right development on the opposite side of the crosswalk of the sidewalk, they should at least provide a crosswalk to enable people to use the sidewalks. So is that something we could do?
So hold on. I thought you were talking about a sidewalk along their frontage. You're talking about a crosswalk to get to the sidewalk.
Crosswalk to enable people to use the sidewalk. I think it's way cheaper than putting sidewalk for them, and it should be something that we don't have to pay for it on our taxes, and the developer should be providing it.
So,
I think we
so
could
you're
add it to
asking for that just to be looked at in the plan review to see if it's possible?
Yeah, I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? The motion is to add discussion around requiring developers to put in sidewalk or crosswalks in specific areas where there are no sidewalks in the developed areas where. We'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. Okay, back to you, Councillor Garden Cole.
That's it for me, right, Norman? Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Mitchell. Oh, I'm trying to find you. Could you push your button? I just remind councillors, if you push your request to speak, then you show up right where I can find you. If you don't, I have to scroll around until I find where you are in the list. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Just 4 items. October the 7th, I attended the PIM here on the Land Secondary and Planning Strategy with 3 other councillors, and I counted 42 members of the public here to ask questions and listen for the information from the excellent report presented by staff. Also on the 7th, I attended a meeting with the owner of the Shell about a land proposal, which is supposed to be coming forward to planning. On the 14th, the library board had a special meeting with Maria Vanhofer, but it was decided that they would follow the process and not shortcut just because of the offer. And on the 18th, Pauline and I attended the gala We were dressed up. It was quite nice. It was well done. And the board would like to thank the municipality for the 2 unused tickets, which were sold because of the waiting list. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Hebb.
Thank you, Warden. Northern Waste Committee meeting met this month, and there's a couple items coming from that. As we all know, the EPR program is supposed to start in December, and all the municipalities are ramping up, getting prepared for that, and I believe we're getting a report next month, I believe it is, on that from our staff. Also, there's the Sharps program. That was always voluntary when all the Sharps are being gathered up from wherever they are. And Divert Nova Scotia is trying to put that through legislation now, so there's going to be an actual program for that, which is going to be a big thing for Nova Scotia. Also, I had a couple of birthdays. Melvin White, certificate for 80 years. Bill Goodbrand for 85 years. And the Norman River Fire Department's Awards and Banquet, I attended that. And I attended the Mount Uniac Corps meeting this month too. So that'll be it, Warden. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor McPhee.
Thank you, Warden. Yes, I'd just like to say it was a great turnout at the Truth and Reconciliation and by councilors and everybody in general. I have kudos for one of our staff members. She says it was no big deal, but I'll just briefly give you some details. Andrea Trask, I thought did a great job. I saw that a person was complaining about putting some metal out on a Friday. They had mentioned it on East Hants Wants to Know on Monday that it hadn't been picked up. So at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, the 7th of October, I just sent a note off to Andrea wondering if there'd been any problems with people getting their metal picked up. She had said that no, there wasn't. And then at 6 o'clock, she let me know that she had found the notice on, or the post on East Hants Wants to Know. And then on the 8th, she contacted me, let me know that she'd contacted the company to see if they'd be able to pick it up. And by 4 o'clock, they had picked it up. So within 24 hours of me emailing her, it had been picked up. So I just want to say she didn't think it was a big deal, but I think it was a pretty good example of how our staff responds. And I want to say well done to Andrea. The other item is that I attended the dedication ceremony of the Mount Uniac Cenotaph on Saturday. Beautiful cenotaph. I advise anyone to get a chance down there to visit it. I think it was a great job, well done by the whole community, and both the councilors from the area were there, and I know they participated in seeing that it was erected, and I know they have further plans, and if I would certainly support any funding requests that the committee might put in to municipality for some help with the further development of the cenotaph area. That's it for me, thanks.
Thank you. To the deputy wardens next.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, be a good thing.
Go ahead, deputy warden.
Thank you, Madam Wood. Busy month, I had family home from Nunavik, so I spent a lot of time with them. But outside of that, a lot of calls about the water supply, and they seem to have stopped. So I think there's more water over there now, or less people needing water, which is a positive. The other thing, I attended the Truth and Reconciliation, which was very well done. And I was quite impressed with the pop-up market at the Sportsplex last weekend. A lot of people, I think there's 27 tables, and a lot of people that have never been to the Sportsplex, so it was well presented. And that's my month, the short version. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Councillor Merriam.
Great, and thank you, and sorry, well, first of all, congratulations, Deputy Warden, on the election, and sorry to try to jump in front of you there.
Thank you, Madam Warden. And I've had recent feedback from residents, two here tonight, about an issue, expressing interest in a crosswalk at Highway 2 and Riverside Drive on the north side of the intersection at Riverside Education Center in Milford. I emailed councilors about this on October 8th, so it was a little while ago. I'd like to move that a staff report be prepared to provide a historical summary of East Hants, Municipality of East Hants reports that were prepared to study installing a crosswalk at Highway 2 and Riverside Drive in Milford on the north side of the intersection, and that new avenues be explored to consider the feasibility of this initiative, and that a cost assessment be provided.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Someone has not voted. Oh, yes, now they have. The motion is passed unanimously. Anything further, Councillor Marion?
That's it, thank you.
Councillor Musa.
Nope. Thank you, Madam Warden. Well, I attended the revealing of the cenotaph in Mount Uniacke, and as Councillor McPhee said, it's beautiful. It's a great job by all volunteers, and they were so appreciative of the municipality for the money they approved for the two flags, and it was amazing. Like, everybody should go and see what volunteers can do when they decide to do it. So that's my first item. And my second item, I attended the quarry meeting, and I saw Councillor Hebb was there, myself, Councillor Perry, and those residents, they came up with lot violations against that company, and the Department of Environment didn't want to see it. So, and I know the municipality have sent 3 letters so far, or 4, and the last one that I like the most, it was in the first item on this agenda. And myself and probably the resident would love to see probably the warden or the deputy warden present there, just to make sure, tell them that we're behind you, not just by letters, we're here for you and we want to hear what's going on. It didn't happen, but it's okay. But today I think we failed to put that item on our top list for the meeting with the minister. We sent 3 letters supporting those residents, supporting everything, and we failed we left it to the end and we didn't get any answers. That's why I left. I shouldn't leave, but I felt that we should have done better and put it as a top priority on our list, just to make sure to tell him, you represent East Hants, you're cabinet minister with East, representing East Hants, and you're at the table.
Councillor Musa, the discussion with the MLA or the minister was not an official meeting or an official discussion where any decisions could have been made.
No, it's not a decision, but we didn't put it on our top priority. I think should have been a priority, because we already sent 3 or 4 letters. We don't send letters without being without knowing what the situation. If we're gonna throw letters and just throw letters there and don't support them, I think we shouldn't send them anyway. So that's how I felt. I don't know. I apologize from everybody for leaving, but I was sad to see that. Let's leave it here. So my third item is it's about private roads. Jesse, now we have any I don't know how to say it. I lost it. A standard for our private road, to have and to be able to collect the garbage on it, because lately I've seen so many roads in my area that they're not fit to drive on. So like in cottage country, like those lanes, you go up, you go down, you don't see who's coming, and they're short. There is no turn for the garbage, so if we're gonna throw those roads everywhere and the garbage collection at the beginning of the road, like we're talking about unsightly, that's the most unsightly thing you could see in your life when the crows start picking on those garbage. And I think we should add to our standard that if you want to build a private road, private lane, whatever, you have to have like a turning point for the garbage and for fire. So do you need a motion for that? Do we have it in our standard and not applying it? I don't know.
Jesse or John? Everybody wants to do it, not Jesse.
Through Madam Warden, so with respect to private roads, there is a private road standard. With respect to waste collection, there needs to be a turn radius that a truck can make. That could be a T, a turning T. It has to be the right sizing. That said, on any development agreement, you can negotiate different standards in different situations, and so it's always an option for a development to plan for end of lane collection if that's what the level of service they're looking for. And solid waste does comment on new developments now on collection points and what would be the end result of a collection strategy for a new development. So that's in play. Dealing with old retrofits, that's on the onus of whoever owns the private road. And so if someone has end of lane, they need to work with solid waste staff, who will then in turn work with our roads team on what needs to be true for road improvements to get to curbside collection options. Some of them are very challenging and won't be able to. That's the trade-offs on private roads. You get choice on style of living and level of build to a point, but you may result in less service in other categories. It's a choice. It's a choice to have private roads. So those are just providing perspective. I would suggest not to look to change standards on the fly for one topic related to waste collection and private roads. I think that overall it is caught on new developments and comments, and a lot of the challenges can be worked through given time. So changing standards, I don't think will change the long-term end results for waste collection, right? Unless you're going to public road standards for everything.
Well, I'm talking now about new development, like it's not old, it's a new one, and it got more than 20, 30 homes. I think the warden is familiar with it, it was in your area. And people, if you have 20, 30 homes putting garbage at the beginning of the road, like what we're doing there? Like, I think at least we should have emergency and garbage on our standards, so I don't know.
I think the problem is they're not even all private roads, some are private laneways. And the pre-existing ones, we don't have the ability to go back and fix because they would be grandfathered.
I'm talking about new ones, like to have a standard for the new private roads.
I would suggest, there are things that could be looked at. If it's going to be an end-of-road collection, they could be required to have bins or something. I don't know what the answer is, but, yeah.
Well, could we do that with a planning review or something like that? Like look at our standards and make sure that those garbage not being thrown in front of two houses and all the animals pick on them at night, and it's a disaster down there. Like if you see the pictures.
So I would suggest that maybe what you're asking is because we can't direct the plan review to actually do something, we can ask them to review it, to see
Yeah.
if something can be done.
Review the standard.
So we could ask for a review in the plan review around waste collection standards, would that work?
It's not just waste collection, it's emergency services too. So if you have 20, 30 homes on one road,
John?
you should at least have emergency service available to go.
Through you, Madam Warden, I guess just for my own mind, in terms of the plan review, it's not really, I think, the place to look at your collection standards. We could look at the subdivision rules around private roads.
Yeah.
And actually, quite a few improvements have already been made, like there are, as Jesse mentioned, we actually have a set of standards now, which previously we didn't. I'm not quite sure how they relate to and the issue you're talking about, if it's cottage country, that predates the standards.
Anthony Lane is fairly new, like it's been after 2016.
One of the newer phases.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, in that case, they actually had their own sort of standalone standards in their development agreement. That was sort of negotiated as part of that DA. So whatever the current municipal standards are weren't applicable in that case. So, I mean, to answer your question, yes, it could be looked at through the plan review. We can look at our subdivision requirements and by extension, I guess, the requirements for private roads as they relate to emergency service and waste collection. But the actual service standard, that's not really a plan review issue. That's really an issue. And I know Jesse's folks do look at, before they decide that we're going to get municipal collection, they look at the quality of that road and the safety in the winter and all those, and the turning radius, all that stuff.
But instead of letting it happen, we should have our standard and make sure that those standards are there and the development go nice and smooth. So instead of starting the development, then deal with the consequences at the end.
So
do you need a motion for any of that, or like?
I would suggest, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, if the motion we're looking for would be to direct through the plan review a review of our subdivision bylaws with a view to improving emergency access and garbage collection?
On private roads, yeah.
On private roads?
Yeah. I second that.
Now, I can't make the motion,
Oh,
you have to.
I'll make that motion.
Take a little leeway and just add a comment that it's not just private roads. We have become quite lenient in approving development on private laneways, which don't have to meet private road standards. And at some point in time, I think we have to have a look at that too. That's just a comment, thank you.
That's it for me, Madam Warden, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Tingley.
I'm going to try to be brief. I've attended 4 or 5 community events this month as well. A couple of them already mentioned by other councillors, so I'm not going to get into that too much. Attended some webinars that were put on by NSFM and the FCM. Find them quite helpful. And just listening to everything here tonight, I got to say, and I occasionally do say, we've got incredible staff. Like the patience, the work they do, the professionalism, it's incredible. And Councillor McPhee mentioned about Andrea Trask. I had dealings with her in the past. She's a saint. So just kudos to the staff for all your work and everything you do. That's it.
Thank you. Well, that concludes business from councilors. We do have 2 in-camera items relating to legal issues, so I would be asking for a motion to move in camera. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary? Motion is carried. Staff will take, it takes at least Counselor Garden Cole. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Warden. Move that the current East Hants Code of Conduct be repealed and replaced with a provincially mandated Code of Conduct in regulation, and that staff be directed to prepare a report to identify sections of the code that should be returned to the council procedural policy.
Seconded by the Deputy Warden. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously.
Move that council write a letter to the NSFN and the Minister of Municipal Affairs outlining our concerns that the public are no longer able to make code of conduct complaints as they always could through East Hants Councillor Code of Conduct, requesting that further amendments be made to the regulations to enable public complaints.
Seconded by Counselor Tingley. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. Motion is passed unanimously. That concludes the business on our agenda tonight. I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.